More than ever, financial advisors are changing their priorities and focused on the bigger picture of their practice, even when it goes beyond their own career. Joined today by Greg Opitz, David McMenamin. Gentlemen, welcome. Greg, I know we've had a lot of conversations before, but talk to me a little bit about what are some of the new big priorities for financial advisors?
Well, you touched on it, Matt. It's bigger priorities. I think advisors are thinking about more things like enterprise value and how may an acquisition fit into my organic growth strategy. And as organizations have become more complex, as they become larger, do I need another professional like a COO type person to help me in the organization? And then in addition to those type things, I think advisors have become much more conscious about succession planning, and not just succession planning, but to do something that's much more strategic in nature, that's going to be a thoughtful way to exit the industry.
It's amazing because 3 years ago the conversation was about tactical, and now it's much more strategic. Why do you think that is, Greg?
Yeah, we've been bantering about that as well, trying to figure that out. I think part of it is awareness of advisors. I think part of it is our membership, I think, as a higher caliber advisor as far as production and things of that nature. And I think part of it is simply advisors have started to understand that they're business owners first and maybe advisors second. So I think that there's more awareness that they're running a business, not simply practicing. So they don't have a practice any longer, they have a business. So that's a mental shift that I think has really helped them look at things differently and what their roles should be and what the vision of their firm should be.
Now, David, when we talk about elite advisors, you're a great example of that. Talk to me a little bit about how succession planning has become a priority for you in your practice.
Succession planning really started to become a priority about 4 years ago for me. So at age 60, the light went off and said, what does happen in the event I do pass away or I decide to retire? So I spent 3-4 years looking at various options, choices, interviewed numerous people, and then chose a plan that really made sense for us.
Now, you went through an interesting process, a 4-step process. Walk us through that process as you thought about your succession planning plan.
4-step process was really important to me, Matt. Basically making sure my team was taken care of, my clients are taken care of, my family, and that basically I could monetize the business and make sure the check would clear. The other thing that really, after looking at all the choices, I had to make a decision, did I want to go down one path and then 2 or 3 years later have to come back and change that path? I did not want to do that.
Now, Greg, I know this is a process you guys preach at Peak. Talk to me about why some advisors are resistant to be thinking about succession planning, or perhaps resistant to think about it in this way.
I think part of it is how they look at their business. It's almost like a family member to them, and there's an emotional attachment versus maybe seeing it more so as a balance sheet item for themselves in their retirement years. So I think if they start looking at it more that way, I think that helps them. And then I think they have to eat their own cooking, so to speak, right? They're planners and they help people plan all the time, yet sometimes they don't really think about, I need to be planning for my own exit. So I think they're starting to do a better job of just eating their own cooking regarding the planning process.
David, talk to me, what slowed you down? What were some of the things that delayed you as you thought about this succession process?
Great question. You know, I've been in the business over 30 years. I love what I do. I love working with clients. I didn't want to accept the fact that I was getting older and exiting the business. So sitting down and interviewing various people and finding out that there was a lot of choice out there, but again, finding what really worked for me and my family and my team and my clients really had to make a lot of sense to me.
And that's essential there. Greg, from your perspective, what are some of the other hurdles that maybe are slowing these advisors down a little bit?
Well, I mean, David touched on it. I think part of it is understanding that there's really multiple strategies, right? Correct. So you have to go out and kick some tires and investigate what some of those strategies might be. It might be a merger of equals. It might be that you tuck into a larger advisor, or it might be that you work with a larger consolidator like David's doing. So I think you just have to investigate. There's many different strategies that can make sense.
David, talk to me a little bit about it. What's one step? You're giving advice to advisors watching this. What's one step to get started on this road to succession planning?
Sit back, come up with a series of questions, start the process of interviewing, and ask the exact same questions to everybody you talk to. It will pretty easily, the number one choice will come to the top. But we had 15 questions. We had the same questions for everybody. And my choice was going through Carson Institutional as my obvious succession plan, and it worked real well for me.
Absolutely. Greg, what do you think? What's a good step to get advisors on the road to succession plan?
David touched on it. Be strategic in your thinking, have specific criteria that David outlined, and then understand the power of culture. And all of this, culture, as we say, eats strategy for lunch. You have to have a succession plan that's going to culturally be in alignment with you, your belief systems, your client experience. And if you wed together a good strategy with great culture, you'll end up with a good succession plan.
Gentlemen, great suggestions, great conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
For Investment News, I'm Matt Ackerman.